Yes, Ms. Bushasedi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Colonel Thepa, just before we took the tea adjournment, we were on page 18 of your witness statement, page 18, paragraph 70. I had asked you to give your response to the memorandum from the Office of the City Manager. Please do.
Commissioners, I was taken aback by the content of this correspondence from the Office of the City Manager, as I had stated that at no given point was there anything critically pointed out to us in saying we are failing to deliver on the work, or maybe there are some erroneous elements with the work conducted itself. So this was just on an abrupt instruction that centralization of communication. It was apparent that clearly there should be a degree of a specific office enhancing or even just releasing media statements in relation to the matter itself. I think what they had missed was the fact that EMPD carries a great bulk of media inquiries. We're speaking now the bylaws. We're speaking accidents when a news agent would take interest in a particular accident that had happened. So those trivial things they had missed, and when they have drafted this, it was in a generic form of saying including those which are so trivial should be directed to the Office of the City Manager, when they again had other departments to attend to and further speak for the same departments that didn't have spokespersons. Thank you.
And in paragraph 71 of the statement, you set out some developments after receipt of the memorandum.
So in that month, Mr. Dlamini asked me to come and see him. I took the opportunity to ask whether this new communique meant that all media inquiries had to go through him. I found this position unsustainable because of the Office of the City Manager was a very busy office and not realistically to take upon itself to respond to the very basic inquiries received by the EMPD media unit. I also expressed to him that this instance, that all communication go through the city managers significantly delayed the response time at EMPD. His position was that we comply with the decision. Commissioners, I need to further illustrate that when you get a media inquiry, there's also a deadline being given with that inquiry. So having to wait for a Mr. Zweli Dlamini, who at times would miss the emails, the correspondence, or anything that has been forwarded, in essence, it would reflect bad on an institution, because what our role is, it's the maintenance of the EMPD's good name, in turn, which would be that of the city. But I wasn't responsible for the city. I am or was responsible for the department itself. So that delay that would be experienced from the responses from the Office of the City Manager would be to the detriment of the department as opposed to the city itself.
Colonel Thepa, at the commencement of your testimony this morning, you also explained that there were a number of other spokespersons.
Correct.
One of whom you said was a spokesperson for disaster and emergency management services. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. William Tladi.
Could I then ask you to comment on, your view about a communique around centralization of information, particularly as viewed against a department like the emergency services?
The emergency services doesn't carry a bulk of media inquiries that would be carried by the EMPD. No wonder, hence, the request to expand the team. I think Mr. Ntladi operates as a spokesperson with having, I think, less than 4 media liaison officers that assist him in the regions when we are 9 because of the work itself. So the impact which it has for the department cannot be compared to that of the disaster and emergency management, because we're talking of a service where there would be an accident, either he speaks or I speak on that, or we just do a joint statement as the two departments, the one that responds to do the rescue operations and us that comes and do the gathering of info and reducing it to accident reports. So as much as it had affected all of us, but I don't think disaster and emergency management was heavily affected in that, because he still continued with his functions. He still had media releases out. He still took interviews. I would see him on TV reporting on maybe some burn shacks within the city of Ekurhuleni. And that alone just set the tone for me to say, maybe the target here is the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department as opposed to the Disaster and Emergency Management Services. But then why again would you construct to all heads of department a memorandum of this nature in wanting to centralize communication for the entire city? I think it has about 26 departments or so to a single office. That already with the capacity it has, it's virtually impossible for them to meet the standard, or rather the deadlines.
Colonel, I just want to find out something from you. This communique is dated October 2023, and in the last few days, we had evidence that there was an anonymous email sent to, or anonymous information sent to Jeff Wicks and copied to a lot of people within EMPD and Ekurhuleni municipality. I think there were two, one in August and one in September, inquiring about the Mkhwanazi allegations, the blue lights, and the fact that he was charged and the charges were quashed. In other words, they did not continue with the proceedings against him. Were you aware of those emails, and can you comment on whether or not this communique was in response to that?
I was never aware of such correspondence that came anonymously to the department, the city. I knew nothing about it, but what I had picked up was the communique itself, the memorandum from the office of the city manager, seeked to restrict communication, dissemination of same, which is a core function and the mandate of the media and PR unit.
Thank you, Commissioner. Colonel Thepa, you have shared with the Commission your response to that memorandum, but you detail a further interaction with Mr. Dlamini from paragraph 72. Can I ask you to go there?
So I later reached out to Mr. Dlamini and asked him whether he was certain that we should continue in strict compliance of this policy amendment. Commissioners, it's done so for reasons that already we are falling behind scheduled in terms of our deadlines. You would need to make follow-ups with him. At times, he's not even available, not on his phone. You send an email, and it takes longer for a response to reach you. So it became a bit problematic and very saggy and draining us as a team that needed to execute our duties. So he said, no, keep the standard routine inquiries and send me the complex ones. Where do I then draw a line to say this is more complex and this is standard routine? I think at the back of my head, I would believe what he meant is when it pertains to an accident inquiry that you guys know, then deal with it, attend to it, have a field day with media. But when it comes to those that are complex, like I said, complexity in this instant, what would it be? How do I then draw the line? Would I at any given point step over what would be boundaries set by the very same directive issued by the office of the city manager? It left me in a very tight predicament of having to distinguish between right and wrong in this instant.
And what did you make of that response? Keep the simple ones, send me the complex ones. How did you go about implementing that, if at all?
He was overwhelmed. I could just conclude right there and there that he was overwhelmed. In essence, he's now saying, let's have the the lesser important ones be dealt with by the team in you and in the media space. But ones that would speak volume on the city, the department, send them to me. But everything speaks to the city and the department. So what is to be sent to him? I wish, for clarity's sake, they had reduced it to writing and said, when we speak of complexities, this is what we are referring to, that I do not then bypass or seemingly would want to circumvent a memorandum.
And even if that was written, if it was not written by Dr. Mashazi, you were still open to possible discipline.
Correct. Catch-22 situation, commissioners. In Sesotho, we call it khomo ya moshate. Wa e gapa o molato, wa e lesa o molato. What do you then do in such instances?
That sounds quite beautiful. Can you translate it?
It's in essence a catch-22 situation where, damned you do, damned if you don't.
Okay. I'll get someone to give me the literal translation. Anyway, and there was this layer of administration as well. You now have to keep checking with him. When are you finalizing this one? When are you finalizing that one? All of this unnecessary.
Correct, Commissioner.
Yeah. And is there anything other than the Jeff Weeks inquiry and your response that you would attribute this to? Is there anything else you could, that is Dr. Mashazi's instruction?
Not that would come at the top of my mind at that particular point. But of course, having learned what I now know, it is clearly this was a prohibition of some sort for us to not even be making further announcement or reports on it. So stay away from it, and let's have a system where we move on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Do you, other than this letter at page 22, or this instruction at page 22, was any reason ever provided why this change in the way that you now do the media work?
Yes, Commissioner, of which it's part of the submissions which I had made in my statement, that, one of the reasons was that umama akajabulanga nge-media. So because the city manager is not happy with media, and probably how we had gone to handle the inquiry forwarded, of which there was nothing wrong with the way the inquiry was handled. It is standard practice. It is what's been stipulated to say media inquiries would be that. We get a media inquiry, we get a deadline, we respond with truth, transparency. Just, even though it is that difficult, we still respond, because a response is better than we never received comment from the EMPD, of which it directly points to me.
So you were informed that the reason for this change is because the city manager was not happy with how you dealt or responded to the Mkwanazi issue.
How it was termed by Zweli didn't make reference to the city manager, but when he starts saying umama agajabulang, then one must then read between the lines that, so clearly the city manager is not happy. Not happy with what? The content, the language used, maybe even grammar in that aspect. But can I have something specific that would point to what the error is in the response I had furnished? Was it against the law? Yes, it is against the law. We have the National Road Traffic Act that governs the use of blue lights. Does the letter look authentic? I don't know. Can we have it authenticated in the department? Those are the responses submitted to Mr. Weeks. But at what point are they then saying that umama is not happy with media? If the responses, what in the responses wasn't she happy with?
Thank you.
Yesterday we watched a video clip in which people were singing It was about Umama as well. Yes. Just remind me.
I think they say Umama Lo.
Yeah. Umama lo ondizalayo. Or ongizalayo, depending on whether it was his Zulu. I did not quite hear that part. Is or was Dr. Mashazi generally referred to as Umama?
Correct. Everybody just referred to, well, those that I have been in contact with. We are speaking now. At some point, I was a commander for the VIP unit. So these are people responsible for the conveyance, for the protection of our principal. So every time we'd make reference to the city manager, it would be, they would call Umama. To me, she remained the city manager. She's the accounting officer. And Uzwedi, every time he would speak to me about anything that is perceived, envisaged within the communications framework, Yazin Mchana, he would then call me Mchana and then refer to the CM as Umama.
Thank you,
Colonel.
Thank you, Chairperson. Colonel, in your exchange with Commissioner Baloy, you indicated that Mr. Dlamini had explained to you that Umama was not impressed, Umama was not happy by the work of the media unit. If I can take you to paragraph 73 of your statement. Could you please have regard to the first sentence of paragraph 73 and detail that response to the Commission?
So in that very same conversation, Mr. Dlamini advised me to lay low as a spokesperson and limit further media engagements in my capacity as head of media unit. He explained that Umama, a reference to the city manager, was not impressed by a media unit and its handling of the Mkhwanazi issue.
And what did you understand by advice to the effect that you must lay low?
Advocate, it's amazing you'd ask me that because it's the exact question that I had asked Mr. Dlamini in saying, Manje Babu Dlamini, are you saying I shouldn't do my work? If that is the case, are you then gonna move me elsewhere? What must be the story? What must be of the EMPD media? Because I also have a target that I'm chasing. We need to get our stories out. Are you then saying I must restrict communication altogether? But I mean, based on this centralized communication, it would seem like it's a function that is falling off from the EMPD media and PR unit.
And what transpired then subsequent to that conversation? You're at paragraph 74.
Okay, it reads, at that time, I did not appreciate the closeness between the city manager and Brigadier Mkhwanazi. In hindsight, I see that he was trying to warn me. You know, I really took this for granted. I really took it for granted. Had I had an understanding of what he meant when he said, Umama is not impressed. There was a time he made reference to say, hey, Yazmshana, now in Nama associations wako. I didn't understand what he meant by associations. Clearly, maybe I'm perceived to not be within the group of people that needed to be wherever. I have no idea. I said, no, man, Puma lapo, Puma. I'm asking who, people Dlamini, where, Mr. Dlamini? I'm not understanding what is happening. Is there even association? I'm just here doing my work. You guys have taken me to school. And after getting the qualification which I had, now I need to use it to the full max. But instead, I'm now receiving backlashes for doing my work. I don't even know what the expectation is in this instant. Maybe if it's one that digresses from my job description, I would be better placed to then say, no, you are going against this, which is what you are appointed for.
Did he ever get to explain what associations he was referring to?
No, he never explained, Commissioner. To date, I still wonder what are those associations. maybe rogueness from truthfulness, maybe lies from truth. It could be anything really. It would just be chasing pavements in this instant.
Thank you, Chairperson. Colonel, you are still taking the Commission through subsequent events to that discussion. You are now at paragraph 75.
So I returned to the office then after the meeting held at the EGSC. So the EGSC, it's administration building in Germiston where the office of the city manager is, the other HODs and the likes. So after getting back to our office in Bedfordview, I then informed the chief of police Chief Mabieye, who then is also amazed by this. I further informed Colonel du Plessis because we happen to work relatively close in the space of, and including the matter when IPID came through where I had roped him in. So it was only fitting that he takes note of what the recent developments are of saying, lay low, don't do your work as a spokesperson, don't be scarce, make yourself scarce. And that was the expectation. And I did indeed make myself scarce.
Please proceed. You're at paragraph 76.
76. So I later became aware of the fact that the city manager and Brigadier Mkhwanazi have a close bond, and that Brigadier Mkhwanazi not only had access to the city manager, but was protected by the city manager. How do we go about, commissioners, to change the entire structure of communications because of a single matter? I could trace it back, commissioners, to an event that happened in the city of Ekurhuleni during lockdown, when an executive mayor was involved in an accident and seemingly media inquiries came flying in. What was expected there was for the EMPD to sponsor a response because of the vehicle that was in use being a police vehicle. Now things have changed, have taken a drastic change, a 180-degree change, where the executive mayor, I needed to take interviews and explain processes and procedures pertaining the accident he was involved in. Like I had mentioned, there is a spokesperson in the office of the executive mayor and the city of Ekurhuleni being Zweli Dlamini, but I then had to take what would be the challenges that came with the accident involving the executive mayor. And there was no issues there. Had a sit-in with carte blanche, and I was chastised greatly. And what seemed to be the protection of our principal within the city of Ekurhuleni, I had taken that and never even received any criticism on the same matter. Yet we have a very junior person in the department who had taken to be a blue light blazer, allegedly, now having to change that which would be policies in the city of Ekurhuleni. It seriously raised eyebrows for me. It seriously raised eyebrows.
You mentioned just a change within the EMPD, which you attribute to Brigadier, or the protection of Brigadier Mkhwanazi. Allegedly.
Correct, allegedly.
And I use allegedly advisedly. That's not the only change. Other change is the process to be followed with regard to discipline was also changed. What else? But during the break, to myself internally, I think I counted about 3 changes, including this one. But now I forget the third one. But the simple point I want to make is that if these allegations are true, one wonders what lay behind all of this for all these changes to have been made. And in respect of all of them, Brigadier Mkhwanazi having been at the center, it's just amazing. But as I said, I use allegedly, and I do so advisedly. Do you wish to comment on that?
Correct, Commissioner, that the changes were only seen and experienced in the city of Ekurhuleni upon a single media inquiry that it necessitated, as other speakers have spoken before me, it necessitated the change in discipline, the change in delegation systems, the change in now what is a PR function for the department. So even forget the PR, the public relations work of the unit. It is, everything has just been cut and placed at a halt in saying, you will not. So what don't I do? Does it mean communication? Is it only communication? If I start now venturing into public relations, that in essence, in turn is, I could simply say it implies that I shouldn't even engage public relations events in this instant.
You say that in paragraph 76, so the last paragraph you read, you say, I later became aware of the fact that the city manager and Brigadier Mkhwanazi have a close bond. That is a conclusion. On what facts do you base it?
Commissioners, as I had said previously, that how does one receive such protection when it's just allegation? We know what is required by law, it is for one to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But these are just simple allegations leveled to an individual that would be properly investigated and ventilated. There is no need to touch base with people that are not involved or even linked to this whole debacle. As a spokesperson, I had received an inquiry and I had done what is expected of me and further furnished responses. What was it then for the city to change a system of communication through the centralization? It is protection. What was it then for the city to say, no, I'm taking away rights or even powers of what would be a divisional head coming to issues of discipline? It is the very same issue. So everything is centralized around Mkhwanazi because of the fact that, an inquiry came into the department that we were never aware of, and seemingly it just led to a whole lot of revelations.
So the short point is there is no way that Dr. Mashazi would have done any of this if they were not close.
I suspect that. I know that to be true, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Colonel Thepa, you were still on page 19. Can I ask you to deal with the contents of paragraph 77, and then please also move on to 78.
So, in December 2023, Brigadier Mkhwanazi is then promoted to a Deputy Chief of Police, having the rank of a Deputy Municipal Commissioner under the Operations and Specialized Services.
Please proceed.
So around Feb again in 2024, I received a media inquiry. This was after the department had taken to do a verification of the members as to the criminal records that were captured. It was discovered that a few of them had criminal records and more inquiries started coming in. I had received a directive, an instruction from the Office of the City Manager in October of 2023. And February the next year, I received further inquiry pertaining to the criminal records of our members. The long and short of it is, here is an HR matter that speaks on what the city intends to do. And the HR processes that are involved in what would be processing these people, because it's a contractual element that's been questioned here to say you have Metro Police officers having criminal records. And furthermore, what is the city then doing to address the issue that its members who are linked to the policing league have criminal records? I think this circular or this communique would have been proper to then direct and divert this inquiry to the office of the city manager. Commissioners, to my dismay, I was instructed that I will handle the inquiry. How am I now handling an inquiry after being told that any form of correspondence, any interviews, anything that is to go out of the department must go out from the office of the city manager? Now I must take interviews on national TV, responding to questions that are HR related when Zweli is there, who is better placed to then extract information from these departments that would be better placed and suited to respond. But nonetheless, it is an instruction given, and as it has been announced, as an officer, you comply and complain later. So I complied with the instruction.
Maybe you said so, but who said you must deal with this one?
The office of the city manager.
I want an individual.
Zweli Dlamini, sir. So my line of communication in the office of the city manager would be as Zweli Dlamini because of the role and the function which he holds as specializing in media related matters.
It's all very confusing in the sense that the instruction that everything is going to be done in the city manager's office still stands. And yet there are these, was this verbal, I assume?
This was verbal. This was verbal, commissioners.
Oral. And yet on the side, there are these oral, I don't even know whether to say instructions or requests. Were you not at the same level?
I would believe...
This is for purposes of the verb I should use. Should I say request or instruction?
I would say by virtue of the office which he holds that they are accounting body. So he, in essence, is more senior.
Okay.
And
yeah. So I'm saying all of this is quite confusing. The instruction from the city manager stands, and yet orally he gives you these instructions.
Yeah. Commissioners, I suspect two folds into this matter, that I'm given an instruction that upon fumbling, then they have a leg to stand on in dealing with me. And the instruction, it's not even in writing, that in the event that I do fumble, they have a communique which has been issued as a directive in saying, we had told you that you will not be issuing media statements other than the office of the city manager. How do you even function in such an institution? It's almost like everything. You wake up in the morning and then somebody feels however they are feeling, they give a different instruction to what is purported to be the instruction given previously. It's very confusing to try and work in such an environment because, like I said, as a police officer, you comply. Unless the instruction is, of course, unlawful, Commissioners.
I would have thought as a police officer, you comply when the instruction comes from another police officer.
Indirectly, Office of the City Manager, they are the head of administration. As police officers under the head of Chief Mabiyeye, we are also administrators. So ours, it is to carry out instructions that have been given and pray and hope that they're not unlawful in any way.
Thank you.
Colonel, at paragraph 77, you speak to General Mkwanez's, not General, Brigadier Mkwanez's promotion. And then earlier on, you had said at paragraph 37, when you were speaking to, you don't need to go there, when you were speaking to, when you started engaging with iPad, when Mr. Kudu started engaging with you. At 37, you said that EMP members were aware that there was an ongoing IPD investigation. So at the time of his promotion, in December 2023, do you have a recollection of where the IPD investigation was? Was it still ongoing? Had it been concluded?
It's very vivid in my head because commissioners, even having to collate this information, what is documentary placed before you, I needed to maybe just express the fact that I was suspended and recently returned to the office. And as such, I wasn't able to retrieve anything that would speak to documentary evidence. But vividly, I remember that I had submitted my statement as to whether the conclusion of IPID report was done. It's very blurry for me. I'm sorry I couldn't answer that with an affirmative.
Okay, then I'll hold back my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Colonel Thepa, we are still on page 20 of your witness statement. You are on paragraph 79. Can I ask you to deal with that paragraph?
May I go back to 77, please? Maybe just to state in record that it's common cause that when members of the EMPD grow within the ranks, that, it's something to celebrate as a department. It's something to brag about as a department. We've had instances where we've seen 2 deputy chief of police appointed, and we had done a proper media coverage on it. A media release has been sent out in now announcing the 2 Deputy Chief of Police being Commissioner Spies, responsible for auxiliary support services, and Commissioner Dwabe, who was responsible for security and loss control. So we had done a coverage of that story. And this one with Deputy Chief Mkwanazi now, there was never anything of that sort. There was never anything formally done where, part of the event would be media take us through this and prepare a media statement, announce on the promotion of a senior officer within the department. So due to all this that has been happening, the instruction that contradicts and conflicts itself, I'm now caught up to wonder, if he's promoted, why did media not cover it? And I mean, as a spokesperson, I would have wanted to brag that yet again in the city of Ekurhuleni, seeing promotion where internal growth is imminent, a whole director has now been promoted to the level of a deputy chief of police, creating an upward, something to brag about as a department, but it never happened in this instance. So I just needed to place that on record, commissioners. Thank you.
Of course, in accordance with the instruction from Dr. Mashazi, ordinarily now, according to that instruction, this would have had to come from her office.
Technically, I would suspect so.
I'm not at all taking anything away from the points you make.
Correct, Commissioner.
All things being equal, it's your office that should have done this. I accept that. I'm just saying, but now it's a fact. The instruction from Dr. Mashazi exists, and therefore it lay with them to issue that sort of media statement.
That is correct, Commissioner. And the question is, was such
yes.
Was such media release ever published in the city? I have never seen one that spoke to that.
Yes. Then the point I want to make is, would I be speculating in a manner that has no foundation whatsoever if I said, if I were in their position, I too would not have issued that media statement, reason being, rather than being celebrated, that is the promotion, it would have caused people to go back to the Jeff Weeks inquiry and article. They would say, oh, how is such a person being promoted? So speculating, I would say, that's the reason why it was done quietly. Do you wish to comment on that?
You are 100% correct, Commissioner, in that, in hindsight, it's exactly that. They cannot even announce his promotion to the world, to the nation, and say the EMPD has now appointed a chief when there is still a dark cloud hanging over what is allegations linked to this blue lights. And furthermore, the explanation that had to be provided in saying, but why then was he considered a candidate if already there's still some unfinished business? But like we said, Commissioner, not even casting any aspersions, I think the Commission is quite competent to handle those elements.
Was this promotion announced internally to the staff?
I don't remember. Commissioner, normally it's common cause that when appointments are done in the department, media, I would have to avail one of us as media liaison officers to go do a coverage of that. Did we ever have that? Absolutely not. I too was shocked when it was in December of 2023, we had a festive season launch in the Tembisa area along the R562, where Commissioner Mkhwanazi came with his ranks, and I was taken aback to say, oh, okay, if it doesn't concern you, then don't ask questions. Ask no questions and hear no lies. So I just kept it to that.
Then that reaction that you say you had in December would suggest that you internally you didn't become aware of this.
I wasn't aware, Commissioner.
Is it fair to say then in all likelihood there was no announcement internally?
There was no announcement, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Colonel Thepa, for purposes of this section of your testimony, could I ask you to go to your annexure bundle, the other file? Please open up page 27. Page 27 is annexure K8, but it falls under annexure K8, but could you please go to page 27? Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Then could you please go to your witness statement? We are at paragraph 79. Please speak to that paragraph.
So on paragraph 79, I slowly started to get restricted in my work. And finally, on the 31st of July, 2024, at about 1700 hours, an email is sent by Brigadier Mkhwanazi to the Chief of Police, the HOD Human Resource, Ms. Linda Kasheka, and has copied the management of the department, stating that the media unit is disbanded with immediate effect, and it's attached as KX8.
Thank you, Colonel. Could you please have regard to page 27 itself? I'll ask you a few questions based on the document. You say in paragraph 79 that that's an email from Brigadier Mkhwanazi. Could you read? Let's start with the email at the bottom of the page. The page reflects two emails. Do you see that?
Okay, so the email is from Julius Mkhwanazi with an Ekurhuleni email address.
Thank you. Please tell the Commission when the email was sent.
The email was sent on the 31st of July at 5:05, being on a Wednesday.
And the subject matter of the email?
It says the subject being immediate disbandment of media unit.
Okay. Can you go back to the list of the recipients of the email under 2?
So two, it is directed to Isaac Mabieye, who is the Chief of Police, Linda Kasheka, who is the Human Resource Head of Department, Hamilton Ledwaba, who was the Divisional Head for Licensing then, Revo Spies, Deputy Chief for Auxiliary and Support Services, Ndumiso Gwabe being the Deputy Chief for Security and Loss Control. And lastly, it is Linda Naika, who is the PA for Dr. Mashazi.
Colonel Thepa, were you copied in? Was this communication directed towards you? Are you listed either under 2 or CC on the email?
No, commissioners.
Could I then ask you to look at the bottom of page?
And, sorry, Alvavie. Those CC'd, were some of them at your level or perhaps even below your level? Don't run, just don't go through the list, but just, go through it purely for purposes of looking,
I think it would be difficult for me to say commissioners, because there has been appointments that have happened in the city, and at that time, I'm not sure who got appointed to what level, but looking at it, I think give or take, it would be around after the promotions were done, and it would be the middle to upper management of the department.
I just wanted to get an idea of whether you were deliberately sidelined. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Mashasidi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Colonel, we are at the bottom of page 27. After you've told the Commission what the subject matter of the email is. It's the immediate disbandment of the media unit. Could I ask you to read those 2 paragraphs at the bottom of page 27?
So it reads, good afternoon. As per yesterday's meeting with the city manager with regards to the immediate disbandment of the media unit, I have come to a decision that the members will be deployed to different regions under operations and specialized service. They will report directly to the directors as of the 1st of August 2024.
Thank you. And when you turn over the page to page 28, without necessarily disclosing the names of the individuals there, please, inform the Commission what the content of that page is.
So I would suspect that the content, it is to announce the immediate disbandment of the unit and to further deploy or transfer or even redeploy the members therein of the media and PR unit.
And Colonel Thepa, the first sentence on page 28, could you just read that into the record?
It speaks to the deployment is as follows. It lists all the 9 members.
And is your name included in that list or not?
It is included, Commissioners.
And when you speak about all the 9 members, is that a specific reference? Is that a category? Please explain what you mean by all the 9 members.
So it is the 9 members that had belonged to the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department's media unit.
And what appears at the bottom of the page?
It is a signature, which before that it reads, hope you find the above in order. Kind regards, J.D. Mkwanazi, Deputy Chief of Police, Operations and Specialized Service, Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department.
Did anybody ever write to you directly, Colonel, and say that, Colonel, now you are being redeployed?
The very same email that was forwarded to the Chief of Police, he then took liberty to forward to myself and Colonel Du Plessis in his office, probably for noting, maybe to it could have been anything, Commissioners, but I suspect that this to me was very confusing. As to the author of the email, it's somebody who doesn't even have power to deploy.
Before we get to the power, we should deal with, I think, paragraph 80 of your statement.
My apology.
I'm just interested in the communication of the decision. I know nothing about HR issues, but I would imagine that if you are being redeployed, someone must write to you directly and say, Kelebogile Thepa, I am now redeploying you, and from now onwards, you're going to be stationed at OR Tambo International Airport. I just find that strange, and to say it's strange, I think it's even an understatement.
It speaks to the management that is within the department, where such emails would be reduced to writing. You're not even sure as to whether it's an instruction or is it still on a consultation basis, if it's anything to go by. It is the EMPD.
So you are saying basically to this day, you never ever got any communication that was directed to you with regard to the redeployment?
Commissioners, I had on numerous occasions requested for my redeployment to be in writing. I have strings of emails sent to the author of the email, including the office of the chief of police being Chief Mapieye, but seemingly nothing was forthcoming. That eventually when a grievance was lodged, it was lodged in the absence of a redeployment letter.
So effectively, the writer of KX8 took the view that this will eventually reach you through other people who may, by their own choice, share this with you.
I honestly don't know what the author was thinking in this regard, Commissioner. Since the affected people will be media and PR unit, it was only fitting that even on a level of noting purposes that, would have included me as the commander for the media and PR. But furthermore, I see even the omission on the staff officer in the office of the chief of police, who happens to be on the same rank as majority of the recipients of this email, who was whether deliberate or erroneously excluded. But it's the communique that eventually reached us and shocked us.
Yeah, because I would have thought if he was commissioner by now.
Yes, he was a commissioner at this point.
If Commissioner Kwanas thought he had the power to write this, he should have written somewhere in it something to the effect that those in authority over the affected employees or officers must bring this to the attention of those officers. Something like that would have made sense at least. Let's leave aside the justification for writing it at all.
True, Commissioner. Like I said, as a spokesperson, you speak on behalf of the head of department. Is it the head of department in this instance that has brought this to my attention? Yes. Has the head of department then said anything around same in saying he endorses, he refutes, he approves? No. So it was, whether for noting purposes, I take it, and that I'm not just surprised and shocked the next day I'm called in to say, you go report at OR Tambo. Maybe it was the purpose, and it's a very challenging one, Commissioner.
And what did Chief Mapieye say when he shared this with you?
I was shocked. I asked the staff officers to say, and now what is happening? Said, but furthermore, commissioners, I had seen where there was a meeting that had taken place where in attendance, the city manager was there. Knowing how things are operated, nothing will be approved or done without that which would be the instruction or even the approval of the city manager. So it reads that as per yesterday's meeting with the city manager, with regards to the immediate disbandment of the media unit, so meaning the agenda point there was disbandment of the media unit. As to reasons behind given for the disbandment, it's unknown to me. Like I said, at no given point where we critiqued on the work that we had done, at no given point where we challenged or even had issues with the work that was done by the media team then within the EMPD. So from this, where the city manager had endorsed or approved or even instructed for the disbandment, I think that's when I knew that, look, Lebo, you have bitten more than what you could chew.
We have come to know at this commission that the words immediate and disbandment go together.
Synonymous, Commissioner.
Yes, Ms. Mushaseri.
Let me just ask this. In that first line in that email, it says, as per yesterday's meeting with the city manager with regards to the immediate disbandment of the media unit, did Chief Mapia, and if not him, through your own information, ever come to say to you, or inform you rather, that that meeting, whatever meeting he's referring to, discussed the disbandment of the media unit, whether there was such a discussion as a matter of fact?
You know, I can't remember, because during this period, we were also having what would be awareness notification sent to members of the public where they would have their vehicles impounded, to say that this is a call being made to the owners of these movable properties to come and claim. So it was a busy week where we had invited media houses and furthermore preparing for the bid with our pound section for that aspect of. But as to whether I was, I can't remember. I can't remember, and maybe I wouldn't have received it as a shock. Maybe again, reasons for not telling me is I don't even know the content. I could just speculate, Commissioners. My apology.
So as you sit now, you don't know whether, as a matter of fact, a meeting with the city manager held on the 30th of July discussed rather the disbandment of the media unit. You don't know that as a matter of fact.
I don't know if there was ever a meeting invite sent out and with the agenda points that would speak to maybe media or disbandment thereof.
Yes.
To the office of the chief, because that diary would be arranged by his personal assistant. I wouldn't know, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Colonel, we're still on page 27.
Are you leaving the communication?
Please ask your question, Commissioner.
In the annexures, the colonel's response to the email is there, so I was wondering if you're going to deal with it.
Can I allow you to ask the question, Commissioner? I'm not sure
Colonel, you were asked how the email reached you, and you said it was forwarded to you by Chief Mapia. So on page 27, I see that there is an email the following day on Thursday, 1 August 2024, where Isaac Mapia forwards the same email to you. Was that the email you were referring to?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Yes, and then if you go to page 24, it is now the same day, 1 August 2024 at around 14:41. I'm assuming that that is then your response to the email you've just received from Chief Mapia.
No, Commissioner.
Page 24?
Page 24. Oh, no, Commissioner. So what this is I had received further media inquiries. So on the file, there's a page 26 where the Kexton group, Kexton, it's a local media group that we have in Ekurhuleni. They had forwarded this communique to me. And, you know, I'm in no position, no liberty to respond to it due to the disbandment of the unit. I then forwarded to the office of, I think by then it was the acting chief, who was Commissioner Mkwanazi. I had forwarded to his office, who then said, I must forward it to Zweli. So I'm being redeployed to do operational work at the UR Tambo. I must further do administrative work for media and PR. So it was just confusing for me. And that's when I had said, with all due respect, exactly where am I working and what is my work precisely?
So then what is that email on page 24, bottom of the page at 1441?
So it says 1st of August. Oh, okay. So it was after the inquiry came in. I write to the management. Says, it has come to my attention that I keep receiving communique, even internally, for media-related purposes. From the meeting held today, chaired by Deputy Chief of Police Mkwanazi, it was established that the unit was banned 2 days ago, and no engagements were made with various stakeholders. So, although the redeployment is done and received with great protest, I am humbly requesting for it to be in writing. I wish to exercise my discretion over it. Can the city please issue or notify various media houses of my redeployment that I know them, the then media team engages with them? I will be comfortable knowing that my request is receiving your utmost attention. Regards, KT. So it was in response to having been disbanded and having received further media inquiries and having an expectation to say, every time a media inquiry is forwarded to you, then directed to the office of the city manager. Can we have a system then where the institution, the department, powers that be, inform our stakeholders, the media that is, in saying that, no, this person is no longer, or that we do not have a media team anymore. And as such, all correspondence will go to the office of the city manager. That's the gist of it, Commissioner.
And the people you copied on this email, did they include the now Deputy Chief, Mkwanazi?
Correct, Commissioner. I am not finding it here. But it would have, because in essence, it's a request being put to him, and it would be again to the Chief of Police, to the Deputy Chief of Police, and also the communications department in the office of the city manager, Mr. Zweli Dlamini, saying, can we have this rectified, please? Or else I'm going to be expected to do operational work, only that there's still a great expectation with media work from me.
Bad. His email says the EMPD's media unit is disbarred.
Yes, it does say so, Commissioner, from the Kexton group, where the questions are as follows to say, may the city kindly confirm on whether or not the EMPD's media unit has been disbarred and the reason why this is the case? And furthermore, what specific action led to the media unit disbarment? As we have been informed that it was involuntary, how long will the disbarment last? And will this disbarment not impact the local media and its operations? What impact will the disbarment have on the media unit's operation and employees? I think Kexton was correct in taking interest as one of our local media house that we have there. In essence, it covers the 3 regions of Ekurhuleni. You would have your Kempton Express, your Tembisa, belonging to the Kexton group. You have your Brakpan Herald belonging to the Kexton group. And furthermore, the Alberton Records in the southern region The Germiston News in the Southern region also belonging to the Caxton Group. So I think theirs was quite important in asking, what about us? Because here's this section division unit that we relied on, knowing that whatever it is we needed would refer to them. At times, they even refer things that are not related to EMPD, and we just divert them to the relevant departments as such.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Ms. Mhlaseri, I see that it's getting close to 1 o'clock and we are still to start with another witness, as I understand. I hope you will not fight with me if I suggest that perhaps we should request the Colonel to simply read what remains of her statement. And I hope my colleagues will not ask their copious questions. I will try to keep mum. Are you fine with that? No, I'm kidding, commissioners. This is an inquiry. This is an investigation. If we must ask questions, we must.
Indeed. Chairperson, I wouldn't have an objection with that proposal.
Yes.
It would come with one request, of course,
Yes.
which is that our witnesses, the line of witnesses who've come to the commission, are usually given an opportunity at the end, usually to discuss under the impact of their lives. Yes. Colonel Thepa didn't have an opportunity to do that in her witness statement.
Yes.
So if she would be provided,
No, by
with
all
an
means.
Otherwise,
by all means.
Yes.
By all means, yes. And by that I don't mean if, for example, you want to substantiate on an issue, please feel free to do so.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Will you direct the witness to the relevant?
we will. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Colonel, we are on page 20 of your witness statement. You were at paragraph 80. And following on from the direction from the chairperson, please read.
So the email is then sent to myself and Colonel Duplessis, who's the staff officer. Shocked, of course, shocked as to the contents. What has happened now? What have we done? Well, I think looking at the content thereof and the author, I had then understood to say, but no, wait, who is redeploying me in this instant? Because he further says in the email that I taken a decision to please these people in this fashion. So is he now taking over the competency of what would be that restricted for the chief of police? Or is he now then saying that by powers vested in him through the office of the city manager, he's now taking a decision to do that? And why is he even the one to be announcing to the entire management of the department when the chief of police hasn't even had his input or even disseminated such information to us, the affected parties? And maybe he would have wanted to take in a process of consulting us and just, explaining the process and furthermore deploying us as it is rightfully his competency to do and prerogative.
Can you then read your statement from paragraph 80 all the way to the end? And after you are done, can you then state the impact of all of this on you?
So, firstly, I did not accept that Brigadier Mkhwanazi had the power to disband the media unit. Secondly, he didn't have the power to redeploy us as EMPD officers. That is a power and competency exercised by the chief of police as the head of department. But from reading the email, it was clear that this took place with the approval of the city manager. I decided to put up a fight against the decision. I attended a meeting in Germiston on the 2nd of August 2024. I relayed my questions to him and wanted to understand reasons given for wanted to understand the basis for disbanding the media unit. No direct or sufficient answer was provided to me. In order to protect myself, I requested that my redeployment be placed in writing. It was at that stage clear to me that a proper process was not followed for the disbandment and the purported deployment, I demanded to be provided with a letter confirming my deployment in writing. I resolved to institute a grievance against the decision makers, and a written document would assist with this. Brigadier Mkwanazi, Commissioner now, had committed and said that he would prepare the redeployment letter for me. After I left his office at the end of the meeting, Brigadier Mkwanazi said to me that I must not challenge the city manager. I explained that I was not challenging the city manager, but I am challenging the procedure adopted. And Brigadier Mkwanazi never sent me a redeployment letter. To date, even seated here, I haven't received a redeployment letter. I then lodged a grievance, and that just took the route of labor matters. Then in early August 2024, I accepted my fate and moved to the airport and complied with the instruction being given. Whilst there, again in August, I learned that Chief Mapieye is now suspended. Of course, I'm no longer in the media space, but yet, it is what it is. Over the course of time, I became settled in my new role. However, I subsequently discovered that the EMPD media unit was never disbanded. My team of 8 liaison officers had been deployed to various places, and they continued to be doing media work. At this point, I realized that the plan was just to move me out of the media unit. And this, of course, commissioners, it's where I am appointed. I'm the appointed spokesperson with an appointment letter, and having to be the responsible person moved out. And when people who are seconded in that are being kept to run the work, it enunciates on the level of competency within the city. And my apology for that, but it just spoke volume to show the type of management systems that are in there. Dictatorship would best describe it, because, when given an instruction, you cannot even question, how do I not challenge a process with fairness of being moved out of an appointed position? I wasn't seconded there. If maybe it was issues of capacity, let's start with the seconded group, and then let's look at that which would be your contract of employment. But that was never the case, commissioners. On paragraph 89, it just took a turn of notifying my union and instituting grievance procedures, and furthermore what would be expected to be an outcome. I remember that my issue was such a hot potato, it could never be handled. And as a last stage of handling internally, because on a grievance procedure, you start with the immediate supervisor and then it moves on to the head of department. If it's not resolved, then it becomes the responsibility of the city manager. When it got to the level of the city manager, it was referred to Advocate Behari, who's the head of Department for Legal and Corporate Services. Despite factual evidence provided to him, we're talking appointment letter, the work being done, the fact that the unit is not even disbanded, that they are still continuing doing media work, he simply told me he will not rule in my favor and I must seek relief elsewhere and find alternative means of challenging the system.
Colonel, your immediate supervisor, now you are redeployed.
Correct.
To this OR Tambo
Correct.
Precinct Commander. Your immediate supervisor is who?
The immediate supervisor is a Colonel Malefofane, who then makes the ruling that he doesn't have a mandate in this matter. The instructions given were given from above, and he cannot then make a ruling on same. So that's when it escalated to the head of department, who's now is the person in question. And then because it's never handled, it escalated to the office of the city manager as a third step.
Thank you.
Chairperson, if I may, it's 1:00.
Let's carry on to the end, please.
Please proceed, Colonel.
So again,
I think that takes you to 92. I think you've summarized.
yes.
Yes. After Advocate Behari's decision that you must seek relief in another way,
Correct.
then that takes you to 92.
So my union proceeded to lodge a case in the bargaining council. So we are still just running with those processes as we speak.
Now, when you were appointed head of media, and I think your testimony just a short while ago is that you had a letter of appointment.
Correct.
And what is the substantive change in your functions now that you are commander of a precinct? What are the differences between the two jobs?
Commissioner, there's also a certain title attached to being the spokesperson of a department. I mean, we are well known by our media counterparts. This is an element of, demotion in its nature. We are now speaking and not even having announced reasons behind it. We are being demoted to now attend to operational league. Had I wanted to be operational, I would have applied for an operational and specialized services post. But now my specialty was that which is media, communications, drafting of things, and which by then, in contrast to the operational leg, and the terms of the conditions of working there, the fact that as a media somebody, you get to attend public relations event, being placed at the airport, you are bound in the office to do operational work. A simple, very silly example I would give is Fridays, you are not even in uniform in the media space. At the airport, 24/7 in uniform and such. So it was, again, a demotion of its nature. And furthermore, it just left that which is scrutiny by media in saying, what has happened and where is she? She was introduced to us officially with a media publication and a whole media coverage. But now that she's absent, nothing and nobody saying anything. So it just leaves room to wonder and say.
So the content of your job was changed.
It was extensively.
It was a completely different job.
Correct.
And this was done without consultation
Absolutely.
or your agreement.
Correct.
And without any document that tells you that now you have a different job.
Correct.
Thank you.
I still do not have a job description for a commander of the OR Tambo International Airport. It's just based on the experience of growing within the ranks that I know what is expected operationally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Colonel Thepa, before we pick up on paragraph 93, could I ask you to have regard to paragraph 88 on page 21? Just to ensure that we cover this aspect, could you please read 88 into the record?
So over the course of time, I became settled in my new role. However, I subsequently discovered that the EMPD media unit was never disbanded. My team of 8 liaison officers had been deployed to various places. They continued to be doing media relations. At that point, I realized that the plan was to move me out of the media unit.
Thank you, Colonel. Can I then ask you to turn to page 23? And then please detail that experience to the Commission as it begins at paragraph 93.
So I'm now at the operations and specialized services. I'm commanding the airport there's a shift system now that has been introduced in saying that night shift duties I would also need to cover. So I would also need to take that responsibility under ops of being a night shift commander. Night shift commander, to me, in the experience of my work, has always been that you are out operational with the members. Should anything happen to the members and you are the commander, you are better placed to account and respond to anything that is to come. I'm having the last night on a Thursday, the Friday being that when I knock off Friday, then I'm done with my night shift.
For the record, perhaps let's indicate that this section of your statement is headed second violent attack.
Yes, Commissioner.
Please continue.
So I'm getting ready to go to the 10 o'clock, 2200 p.m. shift and get ready. Then a friend came over to see me after she knocked off work. On my way out, I'm like, no, I need to pump the tires. We'll just do that exercise. I stop outside her house. While stopping there, two gentlemen then approaches the vehicle at gunpoint again, get us in the vehicle, direct me to drive, make me drive around Tembisa, and eventually get us to this secluded place. And I think what pains me the most, it is that which is always having to make reference to work. This time, the modus operandi was that, I'm a problem at work, and they had made the threat of saying they want to burn me in the car. And how do they then want to burn me in the car? This gentleman makes a call to somebody and they start speaking in Zulu. Describe me, the height, the vehicle that I operate, of which it does belong to council. It was a white Ford Ranger. Ask this person on the other end of the line and they confirm that, yeah, KI simtolile simbambile. I'm being made to park under an electricity tower. And, it's just one thing after another. These instances, I remember I had requested to go pee because I needed to get rid of the phone which I had in my possession. And as I moved away to go pee, I see that these people are watching me like a hawk, and I wasn't even able to throw it out or anything of that sort. Coming back to the car, as I'm being chaperoned in, I then throw it under the seat, the vehicle, that at least it's no longer in possession. If found, I don't know. Then they ask me for dockets. I'm asking, what dockets? Honestly, I thought they had confused me with somebody in the South African Police Services. I tell them I don't work with dockets. No, it's Funama docket. They open the cubby hole. They check behind the seat pockets at the back, and commissioners, when you are dedicated to your work and you keep on receiving lash, you are chastised for the work that you do. And then it could only just raise a question as to say, what is the expectation then? I had signed a contract of employment. You had identified me. I didn't promote myself. I didn't make myself to be the spokesperson. I didn't even request for these inquiries to come my way. But why now? Why now? And at what expense? I have a daughter that I need to raise. Am I then saying that I must die in the line of duty for them to come and celebrate and put my coffin at the top of a fire engine and say she was a hero? It could never be that. After the second attack, I knew that things are really personal. I do not even have a leg to stand on. I do not have anybody to go to. I'm being handled in the department for reasons that are foreign to me. I would say this, commissioners, because again, on the 19th of of March this year, members of the EMPD, they had taken to protest over salary adjustments. This is known because it had media traction. The procedure and process that was adopted in dealing with the matter itself was that anybody who was identified to be part of the strike will then receive a dismissal notice. Commissioners, I'm seated here today further saying I was never part of the strike. But needless to just mention that I'm one who had received a pre-dismissal notice for a strike that I never even participated in. Whatever that I had done to the EMPD management, I think this is the time for me to say it was never done deliberately. It was just in execution of my duties, that they needed to know and understand that I too am human. They cannot just keep sending random people to come and deal with me for the work that I do. And if at any given point I'm no longer sufficient in carrying out the functions, they must just find a replacement and I will find my way out.
Thank you, Colonel.
I don't think you've told the full narrative with regard to this second attack. For example, you mentioned that you threw your phone under the vehicle. Part of the narrative says the phone rang or something and so on. If you could take us to the end of the narrative, please.
I think, Commissioners, I'm just...
Oh, you don't... Oh, no.
Yeah, I think because you have it in record, then...
No, I understand that.
I'm sorry for that, Commissioner.
I'm sorry. I had not realized. Yeah.
Yes. You say you don't know what happened to this Rabasutu case. So this matter was reported. You've given us a case number. The matter was reported,
yes. And a case number was given as it reflects on the statement. And
yes.
So, yeah.
And you do say in that section that you were assisted or rescued by members of the EMPD and the SAPS. They arrived at the scene.
Correct, they did arrive at the scene. And when Commissioners, when Colonel Ndlapo is a deputy director within the EMPD. He's the one that had came to the scene and the state that he had seen me in, and I was not having any of it. I told him right there and there to say, I'm tired with your department. If this is the treatment that I must get from the department that I work so tirelessly for, then it's not worth it. But I will not be subjected to any form of punishment for doing the work that I did.
And you're certain that these people, they knew that you're an employee of the MPD. Were you in uniform?
I had, on the top part, it was the uniform with the boots and whatnot. So they when they had looked for dockets, that's when it became confusing to me as to say, but no, wait, I don't deal with dockets. I'm not SAPS. You're probably mistaking me for somebody within the South African Police Services, but I'm not that person.
All right. Maybe then to move on, you also mentioned the EMPD strike. You say you got a pre-dismissal notice. Did anything come out of that? Was there a further step, or it's just left hanging?
Commissioners, it was approached in a very generic way, because now we are employed by the human resource of the department. From the employment itself, you sign a contract or enter into a contract with the city by virtue of representation of HOD/HR. Issues of discipline now come, and seemingly things have changed. They are urging me to be at a strike that I was never part of. And the letter of pre-dismissal inquiry is signed by Ben Dikop Mkwanazi. I had requested countless of times to say, I'm operating a council vehicle. It has trackers. Please provide me with data that had placed me at the scene, or even a photo of me being there. The video footages that you had told medias that you had collected in identifying people on strike. None of that was forthcoming, commissioners, because they do not even exist. They are not in existence.
So what is the status now of that pre-dismissal notice? Nothing, has it been set aside, or you still expect, you think something might still happen in the light of that?
I'm having labor matter after another labor matter.
I see.
It's now the unfair suspension that I was placed. There is the moving from the position I was appointed to. There is a post I had applied for involving a director of fine administration that I had submitted and I was shortlisted. So with the outcome and the discovery that we don't meet requirements, I then object to that. Already I'm being targeted for doing what is procedures of the city.
Lastly, from me, when you started earlier in your evidence, you said you had been on suspension and you are now back at work. Did I hear you correctly?
That is correct, Commissioner.
And this is back at work to the precinct commander position.
I'm still reporting in the office of the chief of police for now. That would be I'm reporting to Colonel Du Plessis for the process and procedures of the commission, that I was kept in his wing for purposes of consultation, for purposes of being in attendance of such a commission, and that it avoids having to report to different structures that no this and that. So,
but you are back at work.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you.
Yes, Madlala and Madlanga sound quite similar. It's Madlanga. Thank you. Although this relates to the attack, I hope you will be relatively comfortable to respond to it. You also mentioned that your attackers demanded money from you. You reached out to a friend and the friend sent 3,000 rand. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Yes. I just wanted that to be on record as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Colonel, sorry, I want to take you back to paragraph 5 of your statement. So your ordeal started with the blue lights. And I see in your paragraph 5 statement, you say at one point, you were the commander of the VIP unit responsible for protection of the city manager. So I have two questions about that. For the protection of the city manager, did the city of Ekurhuleni use private security companies? That's question 1. If the answer is yes, did those private security companies use blue lights during your time in that position?
Thank you, Commissioners. During my time as the commander for the VIP unit, members of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department officers were responsible for the protection of all our principal. We are talking the city manager, where I happen to be one of the BGs or bodyguards in that term, and the executive mayor, member of the EMPD. At no given point did we have security personnel responsible for the conveyance nor the protection of any of our city officials, including the principal, when I was commander there. And I think the next question cannot be answered because we never had a situation where security companies were.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Does that take us to the impact or...
Would I ask the witness just one more question and then I'll give her an opportunity to... Colonel, on page 26, paragraph 108, You,
100, my apologies.
paragraph 108 of your witness statement, 108, yes. You deal there with your issuance of a pre-dismissal notice. Please tell the Commission, were you the only officer who received one, or was it a number of you?
You know, commissioners, things that are happening in the city of Ekurhuleni, you'd only imagine them not to be happening in South Africa. Means of identifying people that were on strike. They had reported and said to the media that they had used tracking devices, photos of people identified, the video footages. And I think there was even a time when they had made reference to a drone that they had made use of. Commissioners, on this platform, members of the EMPD who embarked on a strike, most of those that had received pre-dismissal inquiries, they were not on strike. Some were off duty, some were not even in the province. I remember there's a case where this person was in hospital, yet was listed as a person who had participated in the strike. And to even show the wrongfulness of this conduct, how is HODHR distancing herself from signing pre-dismissal inquiries and allowing a acting chief of police to be signing those pre-dismissal inquiries, and who then delegates the responsibility to supervisors? Because there would be legal issues that are raised in that aspect. And who then is to answer other than that who has deposited a signature on the document? So it seems like everybody's just moving away from what would be comebacks of this whole thing. And they go out and pronounce unreasonable and things that have never happened to say, this is how we have, and now we have taken a decision. And we again failed by organized labors, because you make a mention of such things and you inform them, but I wasn't even at the strike, or I wasn't even around. I was out of the province. I was sick with a sick note and having been admitted in hospital. How am I then placed to that? Irrespective of what the representation submitted was, mine was simple. I'm accused of, while in uniform, operating a council vehicle, carrying a firearm, have blocked the R21, N12, N17, M2. It's an impossibility. How am I in all these areas at once, for one? Secondly, they said in uniform. I haven't been in uniform since they had taken my work boots from the incident I had in October of the previous year. Carrying a firearm, I don't carry a firearm if I'm not in uniform.
For her to speak on the personal income, the personal impact.
Ms. Thepa, if you still have more on impact, because I think you have touched on it here and there, but if you still have anything else to say on impact.
Commissioners, what I need to be understood, it is that criminality within our space as law enforcement, what do you make of having to fight crime beside criminals themselves? How am I expected to go out onto the battlefield against a criminal, with a criminal only that resourced in full uniform, and having all these powers that they could do what they do? It seems like we're a doomed nation as South Africans, because it doesn't speak, it doesn't address, it doesn't even defend the victims. In this instant, myself, I have no defense. I have to find means of fending for myself. My family, who's also exposed to all these dangers, the frustration that comes with financial challenges, the fact that, twice already, I was almost admitted in an institution. I had a referral to go to Akesu. I had refused blatantly and said I needed to be sound and sober. I had another referral to go to at Glen Vista, I believe, the hospital. Commissioners, it is extremely difficult to work under the conditions that we do in the EMPD by virtue of criminality, that there's a great expectation and powers vested in us to fight the very same crime. With my case in that aspect, what more when the criminal know who you are? Above all, they know my face. I'll forever be a target in that element. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thepa. Let us adjourn